Okay, the broadcast is now live.
Sweet. So welcome to the Node.js Foundation Build Working Group meeting. This is the 9th of August 2016. And present today, we have myself, Johan Bergström, we have Michael Dawson, Miles Barnes, and we have Hans Christian Flatten. And I thought we had Rich, but no, it doesn't seem to be around. And I guess in normal fashion, we can start with a short stand-up. Do you guys want me to begin, or? Yeah,
sure.
Might as well. Okay, so on the exciting side for once, I've done some refactoring on our Ansible repo, and I just pushed it to my my private fork of, or not private, my public fork of the build repo, which gives us like templating for SSH. So if you, like me, SSH into a lot of the machines, it's pretty annoying to keep everything in sync. So now I've got a playbook with an Ansible plugin that actually parses the inventory and then just generates all the hosts in the SSH repo. And it also works with Ansible, so Ansible actually uses the inventory properly. I've also added a thing that's very helpful for us moving forward, which is that we parse our host names, which makes us able to write logic without having to get the Ansible facts, for instance, operating system or architecture. So that makes like our branching for bootstrapping much quicker. I have a bit more work to do in that area. I'm gonna add a thing that also talks to Jenkins, so we can do stuff like add a node, add labels, fetch the secret, so we can avoid the entire secret stuff. But hopefully everything will be landed within a week. So that's pretty cool. I've also landed Ukrainian language support for Node.js Aug, which is pretty much just a small change to the Nginx config. And then I've been working with Evan Lucas and Philip Johnson, which isn't here now, but that he joined us recently, with a machine that tests our commit messages. So hopefully we can soon have commit message validation as part of landing landing something onto master. I'm not quite sure how to implement that, since if we would have it as part of the test PR job, it would pretty much fail until we do the final squashes and the final notes, because it expects reviewed by PR, URL, and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking that we should hide it behind another checkbox that says, you know, with final review or something like that. And I've also done work with Philip on deploying the GitHub bot. We've changed it from we moved it into the Node.js organization, and we've updated it so it actually does a bit of logic on its own instead of having to rely on Jenkins, because we were having problems with Jenkins basically sending us different commit SHA-SUMs, probably because we rebase as part of fetching the commits. So now if you check the update the PR, when you post a PR job, you will actually see GitHub getting updates from Jenkins. So that's pretty awesome. And we have a few things we're going to add to that shortly. So we can, for instance, if it's just one failed test, we can probably like just mention which test it is, just straight in the test output, and a few other things like that. I've updated both CI release and CI in terms of latest Jenkins versions. CI is still on 1x, but I'm also preparing to do an upgrade on that. But that requires a bit of coordination with everything, and I'm also doing a bit of local testing with 2.0 with the same plugins as in CI and roughly the same amount of hosts. But we need to test it against our larger data set, and I think especially the tap stuff, which is kind of our biggest issues in terms of performance. Finally, I'm also doing some work on getting JUnit output from our test runner which hopefully will solve the performance issues we're having with tap parsing as part of the Jenkins stack. I found some work on upstream from V8 that I'm trying to adapt. So hopefully that'll be done soon as well. So that's me.
Okay. I guess we'll go in the order of the list next then. So I've been keeping an eye on the PPC machines. The good news is they seem much more stable now. I haven't had an issue in the last week or more. I've been working on adding the new AIX machines that we're getting from the OSU OSL, along with updating the manual instructions because they're slightly different, different version of the OS or whatever, and I'm finding things that I didn't get right the first time. Good news is those look to be more capable. They're up and running in the CI. They run about 20 minutes to run a test pass. I added them this morning to the AIX standard regression job, so that'll give them a good workout. I'm also working on adding S390 Linux 1 to the release machine, so adding the release machine to the release CI, and then getting it added to the release job so we can get nightlies. And the last thing is I'm working on the build presentation for the Node Interactive conference.
Hey, quick question, Michael. I saw that you added a like an email. We've been talking about getting email output from Jenkins. I saw that you added your email in the AIX job. Is that working?
It's not working. So I added that way back when. And yeah, Rod's provided me the email info. I just haven't had a chance to get it back to that.
Okay.
So yeah, not working, but I still have it on my list to try out the configuration and get it working.
Okay, cool. Miles, do you want to continue?
Hey, so I've been on vacation the last little bit, so not a ton to update. The pull request to get the XML reporter into Canary in the Goldmine is ready to go, just needs some +1s on it. I'm just going to paste that issue into the chat. I also, just before on vacation, got a new Canary in the Goldmine job put together to just test ABI breakages. So I just posted a link to that as well. It uses one binary of Node to run npm install and another binary to run npm test. We should be able to use this to see if there's ABI breakages that's specifically meant to test V8 5.1 on Node v6 before we move into LTS, so that we hopefully can, get a more modern V8 in there before we go into the LTS cycle. Could use some suggestions on native modules that we should be testing. So, I'll be opening an issue soon about that.
How many native modules do you have at the moment?
To be honest, I'm not sure offhand how many of the modules that we're testing have native components to it. I do know that only 3 failed when I did like a test between version 4 and version 6, so I'm guessing not many.
Yeah, I think you also as Rod mentioned, we need to make sure they're being rebuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can go next. Not too much. Been on vacation, doing some maintenance on the Jenkins monitor to ensure the emails are getting out. Also been playing around with the Jenkins REST API to see if I can do something cool with it.
Yeah, you were doing like a UI, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been playing with Electron to kind of give a bit more easy UI for the PR builds, and to try to get straight to what's failing. If that should be of interest.
Yeah, I reckon like once we have something up and going, it's probably really good to get a quick overview. It's not super fun to iterate all those test PRs and test commits because it's so slow.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, moving into the minutes then. Most of these are actually from last meeting. I think mostly because we haven't really closed any of them. And some of them were kind of open discussion. Hopefully we get some feedback going. But there hasn't been a lot of activity, but I guess we should just run them through, and if anything's new, we'll just bring it up. Otherwise, we'll just gonna have to hopefully get more feedback until the next meeting. So the first one was a discussion that Rod started with regards to how a project can qualify to get access to the build infrastructure. And this is a bit of a tricky question, and I think we kind of left it at, let's see if we can, add a bit more discussion on GitHub. There hasn't been much said, other than actually I see that a guy called ReconBot is talking about a company that is interested in helping out with serial port and similar stuff, which is super cool. I guess we should follow up on that at least.
So for context, ReconBot is one of the maintainers of Tesla 2, of the Tesla project. He also is the maintainer of Node Serial Port, and I know that they have a pretty extensive CI that they're using for testing all of their stuff related to Serial Port and Tesla.
Okay. Well, it looks like we should at least get in touch with them and see what we can come up with. So I guess I'll just shoot him an email and take it from there. So in general, is there anything we need to discuss with regards to this, or should we just hopefully spur an interesting dialogue on GitHub?
Yeah, probably just continue it on in GitHub.
Yeah, let's do that. So the next issue is run and deploy Node.js GitHub bot number 404. So what was holding that up was pretty much, well, I guess I raised a few things with regards to security. I kind of want to make sure that we keep our GitHub tokens and access as the vector as small as possible. What we've done since is that we've moved the bot to hardware provider or VMs provided by the build group. So we now control it from within the build group, and it's pretty much me and Philip that is tinkering with this at the moment. So that's ongoing. We still have to figure out continuous deployment and other stuff, but we're almost getting there. So other than that, there's not much to report, unless you have any questions.
Well, there was a related discussion about whitelisting IPs.
Yeah. I brought that up the other day. So my suggestion was because what we do at the moment is essentially we have an incoming API that accepts events from GitHub, but then we also have a REST endpoint, which we call in Jenkins. So when we start a job in Jenkins, we send an update saying, hey, this job started. And what this bot then does is essentially talk to GitHub and just posts it on, which means that it's an open relay if you know the endpoints.
Yeah.
So on top of using tokens or similar, we should just whitelist our Jenkins IPs just to avoid any further security problems.
Yeah, sounds very reasonable.
So that's a work in progress as well. Okay, so moving on then. OSX BuildBot CI call to action. It's been around for a while, and unfortunately, I don't have much to report there either. I've been trying to get in touch with Redfin, and I've also had another look at Max Stadium, which is what we previously identified as probably the most suiting VM provider for us. And I think we should pretty soon try and push this to CTC or similar to, or the foundation, just to make a decision that we should go with that. we're still in a situation where if we lose the Voxer machines, we're going to have a pretty hard time. So we should really escalate this and make sure we get access to resources. Michael, do you perhaps want to push this on through the C2C, or is this more of a foundation thing? Is it just are we just asking for funds at this point, or is there any discussion to be had?
Yeah, I suppose, like, I know Rod wanted us to exhaust all efforts, so it sounds like we have exhausted all efforts, right?
Yeah, at least I had a quick chat with him yesterday, and it was pretty much nothing to report. So, and I mean, well, like, if we sign up for a hosting provider, it doesn't mean that we have to stay there forever either. I mean, if we get an option, meanwhile, we could always explore moving. So,
I think from my perspective, the next step would be to ask the foundation for money, because I don't think, like, in terms of raising it at the CTC, I don't know that that's necessary, because build stuff has been delegated to this work group. This doesn't seem like it's out of the ordinary or anything like that, right? Unless we think there'll be more discussion, and people who want to push back on the, getting it, paying for it versus trying to get it through donations.
Yeah, in either case, I don't think the C2C is the place to have that discussion. So.
Right. I mean, I think this is the group where the people who probably have the strongest opinions are. So what I don't know is how we may now go forward with making the request to the foundation. So that's the one thing we've got to figure out.
So one thing that may be worth taking a look at would be when we had the discussions with Google, the V8 team and their cloud team, we were talking about maintaining V8. It was mentioned that they may be able to lend us infrastructure to help with the testing for V8 and stuff. I don't know what infrastructure they have, but I'm assuming that they're likely testing Chrome on all of the deployment operating systems. So it may be possible that Google has some build bots, and we can maybe follow up with Ali about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't delay ourselves too much on that, because I think it was kind of an abstract, hey, we might be able to give you some resources, as opposed to, that. So I'd say maybe we can look at the things in parallel. Like, we should ask LE just in case, but I wouldn't want to necessarily have that delay our next step.
That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. So should I just shoot the foundation an email and just make a request and see what happens?
Yeah, I think, I think if we, when you say shoot them a request, do you know who you shoot it to?
Well, I guess I could just have a quick chat with Mikael and see what he suggests.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's a good idea. Yeah, ask him how we should make this request, and sounds good. If you want to CC me on that, I'll do what I can to help as well in terms of answering questions and whatever.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so moving on. Rsync endpoint to mirror the releases. We've since last meeting at least have gotten a cron job in place. So the only thing that is really missing now is just Ansible scripts to set it up. But the bigger thing here is really a bit more coordinated effort on perhaps communicating, setting a public deadline on when we will switch to strict TLS, and in parallel also introducing this machine for those that need it. So that requires a bit of PR writing and just agreeing on a date. I had a quick chat with Rod about this, and he's pretty overloaded at the moment, so it's somewhere between us, but probably on my desk. So if anyone wants to help with that, and with that I mean like a general news item about this and why, and and also what the alternative would be, feel free.
So okay, so sorry that we need to do like a blog post or something is what you're saying?
Yeah, because what's going to happen is that a lot of the libraries or older versions of OpenSSL will run into problems trying to connect to us. And
okay.
yeah, I mean, I think we through NVM already have had a similar problem for a long time, with Travis having like a super old version of curl or whatever it was. So yeah, I had a quick chat with LJ about this, and he was supposed to do some testing with unencrypted Node.js org. So we'll see how we go.
Okay.
But we still need to make some kind of blog post and set a date to when we will migrate to strict TLS.
Right, okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. I'd be happy to write something up, although I'm not sure I have enough info. Is it all in an item somewhere, or?
It's pretty much in the air, to be honest. I'm happy to put something in wherever it needs to be. I can give you all the information about the unencrypted server.
Right.
And then for the SSL, I think I have a stub or two, and I think Rod might have something. So let's try and collect that. But if you wanna hold the flag on this one, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, if that helps. I'm away on vacation, so it probably next week. So it might be the week after. But if that helps out, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Get back.
New site. Okay. So lastly, we have Alpine Linux /Docker build issue number 75, and I don't have much to add there. It's been kind of the problem here is essentially figuring out the libc stuff from a muscle point of view, and I think Rod at the moment is probably in the best position to drive this, unless you guys have done some homework.
I thought we actually already had, jobs running and building Alpine.
We do, but it's still. I think we still have the issue of. I mean, the main issue is that they are building it differently than we are, and if we are to officially support.
Right. Yeah.
A version of Node, we kind of need to make sure that it's built in a way that we control it.
Yeah.
I think Node has a pretty good post about this.
If we were going to ship it or something. So yeah, okay. It's the remaining thing is the bigger issue of whether we will or want to have a supported version, right?
Exactly, because I think even few of the Alpine images are pulling our CentOS 5, which is linked against, what is it, 213.
Right.
And even if Muscle has, compatibility ABI-wise, it's not the best approach. I don't think we're in a position to officially support that.
Yeah, I know, and I don't think those ones will even run though. Actually, it's my understanding, but could be wrong.
Yeah, it might be.
I think it's worth leaving open though. There's a fair amount of interest in Alpine, so
absolutely
keep thinking about it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that was quicker than usual. Does anyone have anything to add?
The only other thing I wanted to add was I know some of you have taken a look at the presentation I put together. I just thought this would be a good time, since we're actually in person, to even maybe walk through it and see if people have any other comments, if that works.
Okay, cool. We can do that.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can share the screen through the? There should be, right?
Probably. Yeah, I think it's that wheel, like the cog wheel, and then you can probably choose a screen or something. No.
No, on the left side.
On the left side.
Screen share. It's a green.
Green. Okay. Yeah.
Arrow.
Okay. I'll do full screen because that might be easier. Okay,
Oh.
I guess I should close this guy. Okay, I assume you guys can still see my screen though, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm just going to go to the version I uploaded. Okay.
So is this the one with? Have you incorporated any feedback from Joao?
No, I
or-
haven't done that
Okay.
yet, but we can talk about some of the feedback too.
Okay.
So I assume title page not too controversial, or myself. Build team, I thought it was good to have pictures of everybody as best I could to show who's all involved. Make sure we give lots of credit to all the people who are contributing.
Yep.
Our approach, so our preference for community donations. Anything else in terms of like our fundamental way we do things we should be calling out there?
Perhaps, I mean, you would probably mention it in the first slide, but just like, who are we and what do we do? Like, what's the problem we're solving?
Yep. Right, so, yeah, okay, so problem... Yeah, okay, I'll take that as a note, what is the it's almost like, what is the mandate, right?
Yeah, what place do we have and what problems do we solve?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll think about how either another slide that says what that is, or make sure it's covered in the talking about in the about the build team. But it probably makes sense to have another slide following that to basically say, here's our charter.
Exactly.
So add slide with charter. Okay. Then infrastructure providers. This one I might actually have to just put the company names, because I think at least from our internal review, I'd need like a written okay to use everybody's graphics on that slide, so I may have to convert that, but I'll see what I can do. But we want to make sure we give credit to everybody who's contributing, both the infrastructure providers and then our community donations, and emphasizing that, hey, individuals, you can donate. It doesn't have to just be companies.
Yep.
Infrastructure, so then talk a little bit about our infrastructure. The key thing that we use Jenkins. We have a separate build and release instances. We have quite a large setup in terms of the build. We have over 100 machines spanning a bunch of different architectures. Joel did mention there's ARM6, so I'll add that in as well. A bunch
AIX.
of OSs. Should I say that again?
AIX.
Yeah, actually, that's not an architecture. It runs on PPC.
Oh, well, there you go. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why I put it in the OS's side, but not in the architecture side.
Oh, it's there. I didn't see it. Sorry.
Yep. Yep. No, that's so then talk a bit about our build and release infrastructures. The next slide is just to point out that even though Linux is a single OS listed there, we actually test a good variety of releases. Also go into a little bit how that we test the different versions, but we end up building on CentOS so that it will run on all the other later releases. In terms of the builds, just showing the different builds that we have. The node test PR, which then starts the test commit, and sort of go into a bit of detail on what you see when you come to the builds. Also, that we have quite a lot of runs of those builds, so you can see that the duration's about 20 minutes, and that we are running quite often, several times an hour. In terms of the jobs, really saying nothing too interesting here, except that if you are familiar with Bash, the configuration of most of our jobs looks very Bash-like in the actual scripts that get run.
Yeah, the note I had here was that we also have a lot of logic in Makefile.
Right. So you
it
mean
might be
that's
worth
the
like looking
Node?
into.
That's in the Node.js makefile itself, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So we
I
could
mean,
add.
if people are interested in the release procedures and like how we differentiate test and test CI, there's like, I mean, there's a lot of goodies in there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll add something on that in terms of you can maybe putting a snapshot of the makefile itself, or at least mentioning that to that extent, saying, hey, that you can see we're running make there, but there's a lot of actual good information in there if you want to delve into the details.
Yeah, so I was just kind of thinking, like, let's say someone sees this and like say, I want to do the same thing, and then you kind of want to have all the pieces, and
Right.
it makes for
Yeah, no,
pretty
I think
intriguing.
that's a good one to say, hey, and we can just naturally go from that line that says make run CI into the make file itself.
Yep.
Okay. In terms of our machines, they're mostly virtual machines except for our ARM machines and our bare metal benchmarking machine. Joel did mention about, should we mention that the ARM ones are in, I don't know if I want to say they're in Rod's basement. You could say they're hosted at NodeSource or something like that, if that makes sense.
I mean, he probably has a picture or two you could send you. I mean, it looks pretty cool. The new stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's not a bad idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to throw a picture on there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. So.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'll grab it. That's a great idea. I'll get a picture from him, say it's hosted at NodeSource. A lot of machines to manage, so how do we possibly keep up with all of that? Well, the answer is Ansible. It's on the next page. It's agentless, so you don't need to install anything on any of the machines. It connects over SSH, and really there's 3 main files which we use to drive it. I think Joel mentioned to point to the link in GitHub where you can look at all these things, so I'll add that as well. So the Ansible Inventory, which tells us what machines we have to configure. Basically the entries are this header, which is the machine type, and then the instances, the machines themselves. The Ansible vars, which then fills in some specifics in terms of what the Ansible vars is more a list of configurable things like, say, packages, where you say on a particular machine you want to install this set of packages with these names. And for example, on Big Endian, even there's this example of you need multi-lib. So basically, it lets us provide data to the main playbook, which can be more list-oriented, and we can use to actually do the appropriate configuration. And then finally, the Ansible Playbook, which is really the file that defines the steps that we're going to go through to configure any particular machine. And we go through. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking because it looks like your editor has some kind of parsing issues with the syntax. Makes it pretty hard to read. It's like a quoting thing somewhere halfway through. So
Yep.
like just delete a code or something, so it's just simpler to read.
Yeah, okay. Okay. This is Ansible Playbook page. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm just so used to it. Yeah, so basically the playbook where we have a number of steps, and so we basically go from a bare machine to the configuration that we need to connect it up to the CI and basically run everything that needs. It includes steps to update the machine, install all the packages that we need, configure the IO.js user that the Jenkins agent runs under, synchronize time, date. Install scripts that will start the Jenkins agent on startup, and so forth. So, by looking at that script, you can see all the things that we do to configure. And it's really great because, you really just point it at one or more machines, and it takes care of doing all the configuration for you. Make sure that we stay in the state, for the most part, that our machines are pretty much disposable and that you can just dump them and create a new one whenever you need.
Yep.
It's important. The next thing, so this is how we manage machines. one of the important things, of course, is that we want to stay nimble, and so that means that we need to be able to build relatively quickly. So we do we are able to build and test across all the platforms in less than 30 minutes. That's possible because we implement Ccache, which basically lets us avoid recompiling everything every time. It basically, if the compilation would end up with the exact same binary, we won't do the compilation and just use the cached artifact. We use fan jobs, so in cases where we just can't make individual jobs fast enough, we'll fan them out so that we're actually running multiple jobs on multiple machines at the same time. And in particular, that's used for the ARM and Windows machines to speed them up so that we can get the required tests across all the different ARM 6, ARM 7, and different Windows versions fast enough to be able to meet our quick turnaround. And then finally, there's been a fair amount of work in the test scripts themselves that come with Node to now enable parallel execution, so that when we're running tests, even if it's on a particular machine, we'll take advantage of multiple threads to run tests that can be run in parallel all at the same time.
I guess you could add one thing here, and that would be on popular operating systems / architecture combos, we actually have multiple machines. So like Ubuntu 14, we have like 2 of each.
Okay.
And I think that the benefit of adding that is that it makes a distinction between what a fan job is versus just running, a job on the same job twice on 2 different machines.
Yeah.
Because I mean the fan stuff is really cool.
Yeah, I'll put out the multiple machines because it means that we can support running several jobs at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think at least it makes the fan really look cool. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, because it's doing more than just that. Sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I'll add that in. So we focused a lot on building our binaries, which of course is very important, and a lot of the infrastructure is dedicated to that. But the build workgroup is not just about building and testing those binaries. We also maintain the website, and so automatically deploying that when there's updates and keeping it running. We've done work to publish benchmarking results, so the infrastructure that runs those benchmarks and then publishes them daily, so they're visible on benchmarking.node.js.org. We're currently working hard to deploy a number of bots, which will help automate some of the processes, like posting updates from jobs to GitHub issues. We also have infrastructure that monitors the availability of machines and sends notifications to the build group. So it's not just about building and testing the binaries, but all the other pieces that we need to keep the foundation infrastructure running.
Yeah, and backups and other stuff.
Yeah, what else should I list there? I mean, backup.
A backup would be the only. Okay, we have a few more things, but it's perhaps too specific. But at least mention backups, otherwise you'd get a question.
Yeah, no, I'll put backups. I guess the other thing is if there's anything else, like this is the part I wanted to say. Hey, there's lots of interesting stuff. So if there's anything else, even if it's not huge but interesting,
we have the Rsync mirror, which is soon official. We have a split of Jenkins and Jenkins release. We have a few other machines, but I don't think we should mention them actually.
Okay. Okay. I'll add in the backups and Rsync mirrors as other things, just to show that it's like you get to do a pretty varied interfacing with the OSs and infrastructure and stuff like that. The other thing the build is important to the build workgroup is that we understand that collaborators and contributors may not have access to test on all the platform or OS combinations, particularly if you submit a PR and there's a regression. So there is one of the things we have allowed for is for people to get access to the build infrastructure to test and investigate issues. And you can go to that particular document in the repo to read more about how you might gain access to do that if you need to. a few things we're currently working on. So I guess OSX support, we're still looking for a good way to get OSX machines of all the different levels that we want to support, because it's a bit harder to get older OSX versions, and it's also harder to get them hosted. So we're currently looking at different options for that. We may, I guess, have it solved by the time, but I think it's still worth mentioning just in case we can get contributions versus having to pay for it, right? And then you were saying Jenkins security update. I should take out the security, just Jenkins updates.
Jenkins in general. I mean, it's a big problem for us, and none of us are like hardcore Java, or even if we are, we don't have enough time to dig into it.
Okay.
So if someone really likes that stuff, that would make a big change for us, I think.
Okay, so Jenkins is a challenge, just because I was thinking of the fact that we get updates, we don't get much of a notice in terms of the security updates, but I guess I can mention that. But yeah, just more generally, we're not Jenkins experts, so if there's anybody out there who wants to contribute on that front, that would be great.
Yeah.
Any other?
I guess the reason I didn't want to talk specifically about that is that it doesn't look great for the Jenkins guys.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and,
yeah.
I was thinking about one thing as well.
Yep.
When I mentioned the security stuff in general, if it's interesting, I mean, some people might ask. I guess it might be a more relevant question to us, but just how do we get access to the machines? How do we share access? I think we have a pretty good system in place, and it might be worth mentioning, how we delegate and how, more importantly, how does someone join our organization, and how do we build trust, and how do you activate within the different types of the build group, parts of the build group rather.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't said specifically, about the test keys and the release keys, and I didn't know what, I was just thinking that maybe we don't want to point people at that to go and start saying, hey, if I can get in there, I can find the keys that you need.
Oh yeah, sure.
But I don't know if that, security through obscurity doesn't really help too much, but I just didn't know how much we get by actually bringing that part up.
Yeah. I was more thinking, as an organization and as an open source organization, it's a pretty common problem is delegating trust. And
yep.
If there's anything we can do as an open source project to, okay, we solved it this way and we're pretty happy, but here's the challenge or whatever. It's at least a pretty interesting discussion if it pops up. So I guess we perhaps don't have to mention it. But.
I think adding maybe a slide which is delegating trust that talks about we have keys, different keys for our release machines and our test machines. I don't necessarily need to say where those keys are.
No, and then also, I mean, the trust between us and organizations, and who has access to release. There's a lot of interesting stuff with regards to trust.
Yep.
It's just it can get pretty, we can be a deep dive pretty quickly. So I'm not sure if we want to talk too much about it. But yeah, have it in mind and
we only have
see what
20
you
minutes,
can fit.
so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind as I refine the next pass. And then finally, the call to get involved, right? So it's a great chance to learn about hardware operating systems, Jenkins, Ansible, cloud provisioning. If you don't want to get involved with time, you can also donate either as your company or as an individual. And where to find out more and start to engage is this is our GitHub repo, and you can also listen in at the Node build on Freenode.
Yep.
So that's what I had. I think I'm hoping that gives for 20 minutes. I don't think we can cover too much more, but
it's pretty packed. I mean, you're gonna have to have a high pace if you want to push through this.
Yeah, I'll have to practice a few times to see how long it takes, and then figure out what I can say on each page.
Oh, looks good.
Okay, so I've taken some notes as we went through. If there are any other comments, just post them on the issue, and I'll try and incorporate them as I'll probably have at least one more revision before the deadline. So.
Okay, cool. I'll have another look as well.
Yep. Thanks for all the input. I will go back and I will unshare my screen now. If I can do that before it gets stopped. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so unless anyone else have anything to add or keynotes to review, I think we're done for today. So the next meeting will be at the end of August, the August of 30th of August, which would be 3 weeks at 8 p.m. UTC, so normal time.
Yep.
Hopefully you will have made some more progress then. And you will have had the talk as well then, right, Michael?
Well, no, it's in September. Oh, when did you say
yeah.
it was? It was
30th, so it's in early September, right? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the talk is like the week of the 15th, I think.
Okay.
So.
Sweet. Well, I'll talk to you guys in between as well, I guess. So have a good one.
Okay.
Thanks
Do
for
we?
today.
Do you want me to put together to submit the minutes, or?
Yeah, I think we've been doing some notes. We went a bit quiet at the end, but we're pretty good. So I guess if you could publish this.
Yeah, like I can convert it to an MD file and make the pull request if that helps.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Cool.
do that. Otherwise, I think I'll press the stop broadcast button.
Awesome.
Okay. Talk to you guys all next time.
See ya.
See you guys.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.